What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Fisher Family Adventures. If you're new here, I've got a fishing channel down here in Southwest Florida, and I do mainly offshore fishing. Deep dropping, red grouper, red snapper, yellowtail mangroves, and everything else out there. So this has been requested a lot, this video. I want to show you guys how I make my chicken rigs, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways that I make them. So we've got a version where we use our crimps and our crimper, and make it with heavier tests, and then we've also got a way you can tie it by hand with your mouth, and then finally we've got, it's called a bump board. I can show you, and we'll go through the different ways to make them. Okay, this is going to be our Crip version first. So to start off, we've got some of our 125-pound test mono leader here, and it should pair with our 1.3 crimp. If you can see on the back here, it'll tell you the size crimp that matches with the mono test. So it says 125 to 130, so you know you'll get the right one, and these are 1.3s. These are the double sleeves that I buy for the crimp. So to start off, we've got our tag end of our leader here, and you can do this 2 different ways. If you're deep dropping, you can attach it to a swivel like so and grip it in like this, or you can just do it like this and use it as your knot and double it over in the sleeve to make your knot to attach to your braid or your mono or whatever you're putting it to. So for this purpose, we are going to attach it to our swivel, and you can either leave a little bit of a tag end on the end and cut it off, or you can just go all the way through. I'm pretty good at crimping, so I'm just going to leave it exactly like that. Then if you see on the crimper, it'll tell you the different diameter size. So we're going to go with the 3rd one, like so, and we're going to crimp it. Not too hard, not too soft. There we go. Now we're going to give it a couple feet. We're going to come off, and we're going to cut. After this, we've got our couple feet long of 125-pound test, and there's 2 different swivels that we can go to. They're called T swivels, I believe, and one with glow beads and one without. For this purpose, I'm going to do with the glow beads, but you can also use these on the right if you can see them. So we're going to get another crimp. And we do the same thing again, crimp again. Now, it looks like this, if you can see that. So we've just got our swivel attached to our T-turn, and we're gonna do that again. So you can do this 8 times if you want 8 hooks, but we're gonna do it twice and make a 2-hook rig right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to get another crimp, and you don't want to attach it to the top end because that's where our branch to our hook is going to go. So we're going to go on the parallel swivel. All right, crimp again. Then this part, it depends how long you want for spacing, how much spacing you want between your hooks. I'm going to give it about 2 feet, and then my branch is going to be about 1 foot long. So we got another 2 foot long section here, and we're going to attach another one of these glow T swivels. And I use these heavy rigs when I am deep dropping. I typically wouldn't use them if I'm not, because really, I think 80-pound fluoro will serve all your needs. But if you're going for big fish, like Kitty Mitchell groupers, big yellow edges, snowies, golden tiles, I would probably recommend using this rig instead. All right, so now we've got our 2 T-swivels here that are going to go to our branches. So we are going to do one more section. Now this part is up to you. This is going to tie to our weight. You can either make a surgeon's loop or you can crimp on a snap swivel like so to put your deep drop lead on it. For this purpose, I'm going to crimp on the snap swivel, but in addition, there's also a school of thought where you want to use a lighter leader going to your snap swivel and your lead, so in case it gets stuck at the bottom, it'll break off quicker and you won't lose your entire rig, and you can just swap out the bottom end. So you could just put 80 pound on the bottom so it'll break easier. But for this purpose, we are going to use another about 2 foot section of 125 pound leader. Get our crimps going. Crimping is pretty easy once you get used to it. Not something to be worried about. Even if you go a little bit too much on the crimp, it's highly unlikely you're gonna break off unless you're fighting a marlin or something like that. All right. Now we're gonna put our crimp to our snap swivel. Crimp it on. And the bones of our rig are just about done here. If you see, I'll get an overview shot of the rig when we're done, but this is what it looks like from here. Now this is where it's going to go to our deep drop lead. We're going to attach it here to the bottom. Now, let's do our branches. So, I'm going to do our 2 branches first, and then we're going to attach them after the fact. Of course, I dropped a crimp. We need that 4th one. So we use, let's see, how many crimps for this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 crimps so far, and we're going to use 4 more. So 10 crimps per 2 hook rig. So we're going to get a 1-foot-long section of leader out. And we are going to go to our hook. So for deep dropping, these are my favorite 2 hooks. This is a BKK Heavy Circle 7.0 hook. This is what I use for 95% of my deep dropping. I've caught, 15-inch vermilions on it, as well as 48-pound Kitty Mitchells. And I'll roll that clip real quick, just so you can see. This hook is really, really good for everything. BKK 7.0 Heavy Circle, but there is that 5% of the time when you're chasing big fish with big baits. This is a really good one as well. This BKK Monster Circle, size 10.0. You can go a little bigger, but I probably wouldn't go smaller than 10.0 if you're looking for like a Warsaw or like a giant Snowy or something like that. So those are my 2 favorite hooks for deep dropping. In addition, we'll get to this later, but this hook fits perfectly through the hand-tied 80-pound fluoro chicken rig. All right. We've got our 2 7.0 hooks out. Let me get one more section of 1-foot-long leader, and we are good to roll. There's our second section. Might as well start with this one first. So we're gonna make the branches first. Got our crimp going to our leader here, and we're gonna attach it to our hook, like so. There we go. Crimp in. Got our first branch completed, like this. Time for the second one. But you could do 6 hooks. You could do 10 hooks on this, even if you wanted. Going back to the crimper. All right. Now we're going to attach our first branch onto the rig, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's going to come to the vertical portion of the rig, not the horizontal deep drop or T-turn. All right, there's our first one on. Let's get our second one. There you go. Now you really could go fluoro on this if you want to spend the money. You could buy 125, 130 pound fluoro, but I think the mono works just fine. I've never had an issue with it. All right, so now I'll show you a top view of the rig and we'll move on to the next one. So this next rig is a little simpler. I'm gonna go through it. We've got our 80 pound Cigar Fluoro Blue Label. You can use whatever you want to make this rig. This is just what I use. We've got our 7.0 BKK circle hook and we've got a snap swivel. So to start off, I like to tie a snap swivel. Now remember, you could also just do an FG knot and tie this straight to your braid, but I like the snap swivel so it doesn't spin. Doesn't get tangled. I get less tangles with the, not the snap swivel, the swivel. As far as knots, I say tie whatever knot you're best at. I'm just gonna tie a simple knot right here. I tie a variety of them, but this one is pretty easy to tie and it works. There you go. Now we're going to take about a 6-foot section of leader off, if you can see here. Keep going. Now we're going to make our dropper loops, and this is with 80, right? The lighter leader you use, the easier. So all you have to do is you twist with your fingers so you get this kind of like half triangle looking shape, like so. Now there's easier ways to do it, but it should look like this when you're ready to go, okay? So you've got the turns on the right and the left, and you've got the little circular triangle at the top, right? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the bottom loop through the top right here, and then put this part in our mouth and pull tight. And it'll come out exactly like this. So it's about a, what, 3-inch long dropper loop right here. We're gonna tighten it and make it look all nice, but in a sense, that's what it should look like. And now we're gonna do a second one, about 2 feet apart. We're spinning again, doing about 5 to 7 spins. Now, we're gonna do the same thing we did before. We're gonna pull this loop through here and then pull this part with our teeth. Comes out like this. A little bit smaller, but you get the idea. Now the reason why I like those 7.0 BKKs is they fit perfectly through these dropper loops. If you go smaller or a different style of 7.0, they do not fit. Or you have to use like a needle to get it through. It's more challenging. All right, and there's just one more step. We got our 2 hooks going. We're gonna cut off our leader. Now you could tie a snap swivel to this right here, but I think it's easier to tie a dropper loop or a surgeon's loop. So we're gonna double over our line like this. And then go twice through. like this, and pull it tight, and then you can put your deep drop lead, put it through the eyelet, and now you're like this. There you go. That is the second way to tie it. Now I'm going to go show you the third way. So this is the third way that I tie my drop loop rig, chicken rig, pompano rig, whatever you want to call it. So this is called a bump board. I believe there's other names for it too, but that's just what I call it. We used to tie these for Fluke back up in New Jersey, but it's pretty simple to make and it ties a perfect rig every time. So this is about what, inch or two thick wood. Then you just drill in 3 screws. You could do nails, screws, you could do pegs. I don't think it's that hard with the screws. And then you have a 4th one up top to hold your leader. There's even more advanced ones I've seen on YouTube where there's different ways to hold the line, but this one's pretty easy to make and it works for me. Again, we've got our 80-pound fluoro, 7.0 BKKs. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull a section of line out. And we're just gonna wrap it around the triangle like so. Then we're gonna start twisting this line right here 5 to 7 times again. Now once we've got our line in a circle like this, or an oval if you will, we're gonna take our line from the top here, put it through the oval, and go back. Then we're gonna start pulling our line tight, pulling it down, and boom, perfect dropper loop every time. Perfect length too. On this side, we're gonna tie our snap swivel, or not, I keep saying snap swivel, our swivel. And I use 80-pound fluoro. This is my favorite for deep dropping. I use this a lot. I don't like all that, the crimps and the stuff on my rigs most of the time, unless I'm chasing really heavy fish. So this is what I use 95% of the time when I'm deep dropping. So we got our first loop here. And then we're gonna make a second one. Five more turns. I'm gonna pull it tight. Perfect dropper loop again. Now we're gonna slide our 2 hooks on there. And this looks really similar to the second way. I mean, it's pretty much identical to the second way I make the chicken rig. But with that being said, this comes out perfect every time. There's a little margin for error. Now we're gonna cut off our tag end. Make another surgeon's loop. We got our surgeon's loop. Like so. There you go. I'll show you an overview of the rig, and yeah, that's pretty easy. Now, which one do I use? This is the one that I use for almost all applications, for red grouper, red snapper, deep dropping, pretty much anything. I think this is really easy to use. You can do, it's even easier to tie with like 20, 30, 40 pound leader instead of, but I'm using 80 here. So yeah. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like this video and share it and subscribe to my channel.